woken up here in Kyiv by the air raid sirens myself, and you could hear immediately the air defences engaging the cruise missiles that had been fired at the capital, all successfully, so that nothing hit Kyiv. That was not the case, I'm afraid, in some of the other places that were targeted overnight in strikes that we sort of haven't really seen the like of since about February this year. So there was a very tall residential building in a city called Uman, which is very far from the front lines, that was hit. And the death toll seems to be rising there. I think there may be as many as 15 people dead in that now. There's rescue workers on the site trying to go through the rubble and account for all the people who were there. And there's also been a strike on Dnipro, which is a southeastern city, again, not close to the front lines, a little way back. So it very much looks like what the Russians were trying to do was reach well behind the front lines and send a message to the Ukrainians, or possibly even attempt to deplete their air defences, as there's been a question mark over how much ammunition they have left that can tackle the aerial threat from Russia.
Is there something going on here as well, Catherine, that because international attention has been focused on what's happening in Sudan, does that affect what Putin's decision to sort of launch this assault, do you think? Either hoping that attention is turned elsewhere, or just to remind everyone he's very powerful as well?
I suspect it's less about that than it is about the fact that Ukraine has been gearing up for a counteroffensive, a spring counteroffensive, and we're now well into spring. It's almost feels like summer, or sort of like an English summer here, and it still happened yet. So I think that really we're in this very tense waiting game for what's going to happen, whether the Ukrainians are going to launch this offensive to take back ground territory from the Russians. I think that there was an announcement yesterday from NATO, from Jens Stoltenberg, that I think may have provoked Russia, which was to say that that 98% of what Ukraine had been promised had now been delivered. So that's in terms of armoured vehicles, tanks, and millions of rounds of ammunition that were meant to ready it for a new push.
And obviously, earlier this week, the Kremlin claimed it was embracing the idea of talks between China and Ukraine, so it would welcome anything that brought the end of the conflict closer. Is that realistic? Is the possibility of China sort of brokering some sort of end to this?
It's rather hard to take Beijing credibly as a sort of honest broker in this. I think that the Chinese are walking a fine line here, and that they may have felt that they had to make this call, which between Xi and Zelensky, which has been sort of promised for about the last 2 months, and yet never happened until some rather belligerent remarks by a Chinese diplomat who appeared to suggest that even the Baltic states didn't enjoy any legitimate sovereignty and were really part of Russia because of the Soviet Union. I think that the Chinese are sort of posturing here to look like they are neutral players in this, but they have never condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It's really hard to see, and indeed, we have these Western suspicions by Western intelligence that China is at least considering, at the very least, helping to replenish Russia's weapons stocks. So I would be very skeptical of that. I think that the Ukrainians themselves are keen not to agitate the Chinese further, and have to sort of appear to take seriously any efforts they make at peace dealing.